I know a lot of people have watched the flea market video and the Horia and MIH videos now, and they might be curious about what tools I have, because I bought a lot of tools over the past couple of years. The first thing is the lathes. In the video about the Horia, there was the watch fair in La Fon, France. There was a complete lathe that was 2,500 euros. That was amazing. It's at 2 minutes or 2 hours into the video. But this is, I put this lathe together myself, and plus all this infrastructure to to make videos with it, and it was a lot less expensive than 2,500 euros. But the thing I loved about that one was that it's like classic. Everything about it is just totally classic. Mine's more hacked together, but it was a lot cheaper. So it has a Chinese motor, which is fine. It has a funny looking controller, but the good thing about the Chinese motor is that you don't really need a countershaft, because this is the RPMs. It's a variable speed motor. Perhaps the motor on the one at the watch fair was also variable speed. I did see kind of down here on the desk there was a knob that looked like a variable knob. But anyway, what you really need in a lathe in the end is you need to be able to, like that one also had a beautiful brass index plate. But you need to be able to index the lathe if you're doing gear cutting, and then you need it to lock. So a typical, this is a Boley lathe, but a lot of these smaller B8 lathes will have an index plate built into the drive column, or whatever you call it, like this one. And then I made this index driver, which is as a kit on my website, that will actually go to any position. And recently I've added a brake to it, so that when the brake is on, it's absolutely fixed from any kind of rotation, similar to when the pin is in it. Here you have a cross slide. I paid 65 francs for the cross slide, a couple hundred I think for the lathe, maybe less than 200, 100 or 150 for the motor, and then a milling attachment, which is on this other lathe right now. This was 350 or something, but all in all, I kind of probably built up all of my lathes for less than 2,500 euros. And so the point I was trying to make is that in the end, for gear cutting, for example, you need a good spindle on a milling attachment. You need a way to drive it with a motor at whatever speed you need. And you need everything to be very stable. And then you need some way to index the gear to the different tooth positions. So if you have all that and it's very high tolerance, it doesn't really matter how it looks, or what it, if it's made of different parts or not. So that's why, I would love to have the other lathe, the one from the flea market, but I'm also really happy with what I've made on my own. So just to back up a little bit, this is a W12 lathe. This is similar to like what a Schablin 70 would be used for. Kind of, you can do bigger work with it, but you can also do very fine work. This has a variable speed multifix motor. I think it's called an M80. And then it has also a countershaft and the arms I put together for running the drive belt to drive the what do you call it, milling attachment, or of course you can drive the lathe itself. Again, set up with lots of cameras. Okay, so then my watches, I probably have about 80 different watches, and they're mostly chosen for their movements. Like I was interested in, that's a Valjoux 7734 chrono. I wanted to kind of get to know a lot of different movements. I won't show you all these, but that was my dad's Rolex. I think it's called 5301, 6301, I can't remember. But I'll do a separate video about the watches sometime. Oh, I do have a lot of pocket watches now too. And then various microscopes, mostly from flea markets and stuff. This was a Zeiss binocular loupe that I bought from Gurdeep, the Sikh fellow that I talked to at the Museum of Horology. Beautiful condition. These are surgeon loupes, and they have magnification. I think it's like 3x. .3x magnification, but they also have some telescope built into the optics, so you don't have to be like 2 inches away from the workpiece, which is good on a lathe. Keep some distance so you're not just right there. I didn't drop the glasses, I just dropped the box. I have this CNC machine, Carbide 3D, that's in the video I think about making the index driver yourself. That's the index driver for this lathe. Oh, and then recently I added a brake to this also. This is, it's now on the web page, but basically the gearbox has a worm gear in it, which has some backlash. So in between each advancing of this index driver, you have to hand tighten some kind of brake. I was using before just a constant source of holding it back, like kind of high friction. But in order for it to work well, it's best to release that friction and then reapply the friction. So this is like a thing for, I think it's for putting a grinding, like locking a grinding wheel on a grinding arbor, but it works fine for this. I had to do some stuff with the drive shaft. In the lathe, I had to kind of turn it down and tap it so I could put an M10 thread on it. Okay, so then, I know this is really haphazard, but, oh, there was a guy, Tomasini, at the Museum of Horology. I bought this cleaning machine from him year and a half ago. I think it was $400. This is interesting. You just put all the watch parts in here, and then they go inside this vacuum tank there, and then the chemistry, which is all in here, cycles through it automatically. And that works great. I had to pay probably almost as much for the chemistry as I did for the machine. Okay, so here, this is a countershaft. This is to be used kind of like a gearing element with these urethane drive belts, so you can change the gear ratio of your drive motor to whatever you're driving. This is a topping up tool. I put a urethane belt on it, so it's kind of working. But these, we saw some of these at the MIH for like 1,500 and 1,300, I think, Swiss francs. It's important if you buy one of these that you get it with the wheels if you're actually going to use it, the cutting wheels and these accessories. They go in here. And I haven't really used that yet. I plan to make a video about it one of these days. These are these plates that I did a video about how these plates are used. Seitz tool, which I have the box for with all the accessories, a Horia tool, some screw plates, I think they're called, but they're for tapping the thread onto the screws, making your own screws. Some staking tools, which I also have the box for. So one of these is a full kit, one is kind of a specialty item for balance wheels or something. Some more things for screw tapping. A little XYZ thing. This is actually from China. It's just a slide, a microscope slide, but I want to try to use it for milling. Lathe parts, files, engravers. I also have all of these files, engravers. And these are from kind of various lots of things that I've purchased. This is a graver sharpener thing. It holds it, allows you to put the right angle on the graver when you're sharpening it. And this is kind of a larger version of that. There's the box for the staking tool. There's another binocular loupe by Zeiss that's more of a, I've worn this in some videos. It doesn't have the telescope function, but it has a parallax correction. It has a prism in there. So that's really comfortable visually because it makes it like as if your eyes were closer together and had the proper parallax for the amount of magnification. Oh, this I bought at the Horia. This is for measuring, I'm going to use it for measuring things on the lathe. So it just magnifies, you know, the distance between these two teeth. You can read it, it's in millimeters. You read it off of this scale. Caliper I bought at the Plampalais flea market. That's a flea market in Geneva. Digital calipers, which I don't really use at all anymore. I think this is called a feeler gauge or gapping gauge, but this is basically to check the distance between this is a big Swiss tool company. It's just shims of different thicknesses to measure the gap between two different things. This is some kind of a reference for calibrating micrometers. It's exactly 21.03 millimeters in this dimension and 2110 in this dimension. That was with some kit of stuff I bought, like a kit of tools on Ricardo. This is from China, but this is just a little clamp for holding small parts. This was 15 bucks or something, and the Bergeon equivalent is like 180. Movement holders for while you're working on them. Faceplates. I bought these at l'Abbaye from a vendor in June or July, whenever that was. Jewels. I forget what this stuff is even. This is the box for one of those guys, micrometer. I think these things are empty boxes, basically, so I won't go into that. This was, this is the heater for the pallet fork. Where's that thing? This I bought from Tomasini, the same guy that I bought I think I'm mispronouncing his name, but the Swiss-Italian fellow that I bought the cleaning machine from. I also bought this from him at a watch fair in Zurich a year or so ago. I did a video about that. It's called an escapement meter. This is a pallet fork jewel setting tool from a factory. These are all micrometers. These are magnetic on the bottom, so you can attach it to the lathe or to a magnetic bench if you have it, and then use it to measure how far your cross slide is moving or your workpiece or whatever. Jacko tool, balance poising tool. These are gravers that I bought at Le Landeron that have been trimmed down to be, not that end, but been trimmed down to be very teeny tiny, which is cool. it would be really hard to put that on high-speed steel yourself without a really good lathe and diamond grinding wheel, so it's nice to get those. Some oversized pallet jewels, way oversized, which were probably from some demo oversized escapement or something. That was just something from Ricardo. Ricardo's this website that's like eBay. These were hairsprings I bought from Federhouse because I have all these hairspring tools, but I haven't done much with them except for figure out what they do, but eventually I'll have to get more into hairsprings. Hammers, cleaning brushes. These are crystal removing tools. This holds a case if you're doing something, trying to take a case back off. Case back remover. Mainspring winders from Watchcraft. That was from Ed in New Mexico. These things are for countersinking, like on pocket watches. After you make a hole for a bushing and you need to countersink it, you just put these in. They're just sharp discs of different sizes, and they'll cut brass. You just put them in and turn them, and you get like a round countersink. Mainspring winder. This is a Bergeon claw type crystal lift. Winders for pocket watch mainsprings. This is just a little, what do you call it, press. I have it configured with a blade for cutting dials if you change or put new dial feet on it. But this is something I kind of rigged up. Just happened to fit the, this was new from China. Just happened to fit. So you could do a little grinding or cutting. Very, very gentle milling with that. This is pretty useless. It's a microscope. You could use it to look at a jewel, but it's high magnification and not high quality. So these things are for checking the concentricity of a balance wheel, I guess. And then the Seitz tool in this box is like Seitz tool, all the jewels. I don't feel like dragging it out. Boxes for the lathes. And then under here, that's cleaning chemicals, oil, arbors, and mandrels, grinding and cutting stuff, more kind of grinding stuff for the larger lathe. These are just like raw stock brass discs. Some of this is from AliExpress. You can just buy these discs as kind of wheel blanks. Miscellaneous stuff for making screws and tools. These are like ER 32, 16, and 11 collets, and stuff for the CNC. These are the ER 11 collets. Then these are end mills. A bunch of end mills in here for CNC. The end mills can also be used at the lathes. So I think that's it. All the stuff around my desk, but you kind of see that when I'm doing stuff. Overflow drawer of junk, tools, things I reach for a lot. Some smaller stuff, staking plates, some other tweezers. There's also tweezers and screwdrivers here. Oiler, whatever you call those things. More tweezers. Wire brushes. Plates, diamond grinding plates from AliExpress. Those are super useful. Here I have my older ones, and here I have a new set, and I have another new set. They're very cheap, and they're, you know, they look like this, and you can just use them like a grinding, like a whetstone, but they stay flat, and because they're diamond, they cut well, and then they're available in all different grits, which is measured similar to sandpaper. Like this is 800 or 600. If you need links for those on AliExpress, that's on my website. Oiling stuff, variable movement holders, and the oils and greases. Links to that stuff is also on my website. And then these are just like movements, spare movements, casing rings. I think there's some just like various incomplete watches in there. Chemicals, finger pots or whatever you call it. Lighter fluid, some torches for bluing and tempering. There's some polishing stuff and leather buffs here. The idea. And then that's what my video setup looks like. And on this side. And these clocks that are always on, these are these, I should do a separate video about this someday, but these are things I made for synchronizing camera shutters. So you can synchronize, the clocks can synchronize to each other, up to like 8 of them, so they can be pointed in different directions. Because I work with a lot of cameras and I have to synchronize them, this is counting in 100,000ths of a second. So here you have seconds, tenths, hundredths, thousands, 10,000ths, and 100,000ths. And it just, if you take a picture of that with a 1/100,000th shutter speed, you can tell exactly, you know, if two things are in sync within 100,000th of a second. That's the point of that. And then there are different ranges, like it doesn't have to be 100,000ths. Those are special functions. That's like tenths and hundredths. Tenths, hundreds, and thousands. You get the idea. Miscellaneous projects, containers with incomplete projects in them, books, more projects, camera controllers, more camera controllers. I don't even know what's up there. Some stuff for filming, some books. Okay, and then because I'm a camera guy, this is like my vintage camera collection. This thing is actually a prototype I made in 1994 of a camera array that was based on film going through it, and I made 60 modules like this, all linked together. And the original camera of that's in the Smithsonian Museum of American History. And that's the thing I patented to patent the technique of freezing time or slowing down time using an array of cameras. Oh, this is, I own the rig that was used to make the matrix. I didn't make that myself. They actually tried to get my own engineering company, a freelance engineering company I worked with, to build it for them. But the visual effects company behind the Matrix went out of business after the first Matrix, so I purchased the whole rig. So this is a little section of it, but it's actually it's support for 120 cameras, plus 120 film cameras, Canon A2s. And this is, because I do the camera array work, this is 100 Sony cameras and then 100 controllers. And I made the controllers to control these cameras, and then these cameras can go on this rig and shoot 4K video. So that's a body scanning rig. After you shoot a person in there with from all those points of view, there's software that can make a 3D model out of every frame, and that's what we did for the movie Ghost in the Shell. And this space is just kind of for setting up stuff like that. And then I have just a ton of equipment and storage. Like when I'm building something, I can come back here and it's just like 30 years of collected camera related stuff and tools and electronics. I'm embarrassed about what a mess it is, but it's just the reality of how I function. This is a light box for shooting small parts, whatever. All right, so that's it. I'm sure I could spend a lot more time and go in more detail, but I think the details should be left to specific videos. That's like the overview. Thanks for watching.